So I want to start off by saying welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, welcome. If you're a fanatic of everything entertainment, this is the channel for you. But in today's movie review, we'll be talking about this year's Deadpool and Wolverine. So let's get into it. Where to begin with this review? Because honestly, there's a lot to say. And I mean a lot. I don't want to spoil anything in here because I'll admit I did have 2 or 3 surprises for me in this film. But there's a lot of surprises for everybody involved. If you are familiar with Fox at all, especially with the Marvel films, this is the movie for you. This is like the send-off to it. But speaking of send-offs, this was a good reintroduction back to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, because this is entirely, I don't want to get into spoilers and everything, but they do it justice, but in a different way, in a Deadpool way. Speaking of Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, once again, is great as Deadpool. He is the standout in here in all of his movies. Even in, X-Men Origins, he was like one of the best parts of that too. He's just a standout in everything he does. Ryan Reynolds himself, but also like his character of Deadpool. He is what you come to these movies for, and he is one of the highlights in here as well. And then Hugh Jackman as Wolverine has not missed a beat. This is one of his best portrayal of Wolverine, because they do some emotional things in here as well. You wouldn't think that, but they do. And then the gore, once again, is a highlight. Them switching over to Marvel didn't really affect anything. The gore is still gory. The vulgarness is still there. They didn't really... They Marvelized it, but they didn't Marvelize it, if that makes sense in the slightest. And then the side characters in here, a lot of the cameos, I'm not going to get into any of them, but some are here longer than others. Like, some are here for a split second, some are here for at least 10 to 15 minutes, and I think that was really cool. They brought back some people I never thought I'd ever see again, which I'm not going to get into spoilers with that whatsoever. And the friendship between Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool and Wolverine, they are what you come to this movie for. They are the highlight of this movie. Like, I could watch these two, I don't know, paint a house together. That was a really weird thing to bring up, but I would watch Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds paint a house because of how entertaining it would be, because their friendship, is super tight. I love their friendship, and all the stuff that they're doing for the press. You can tell they love one another, and that's one of the best friendships you can have, is when you love your best friend. I have a couple of best friends. I haven't seen them in a while, but I have a couple of best friends that I love dearly. I know that's really weird. Got off topic a little bit. And like in Deadpool 1 and 2, the jokes might not entirely land, 100% of the time, but for the most part, they do land. And some of them stick with you. Like, you'll still be thinking about a joke like 5-10 minutes after and just have a slight chuckle to yourself. All of these films have moments to where, you laugh out loud because of how funny something is. So, the comedy in here, for the most part, is great, just like in the first and second film. And my last positive is one of the songs in here. This movie, it feels like the songs are like the side character in here, but the tribute with Green Day's Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, that was very hitting at the end of the movie. Green Day is my favorite band of all time, and to have them in like a big studio film, like a Marvel film, is awesome. The song was perfect, but I am not 100% on this film like other people are, so I do have a few mixed and negative things to say about this film, so let's get into the mixed very quickly. I don't want to sound a certain way, but this movie feels very Marvelized. I know I said earlier that it doesn't when it comes to the gore and vulgarness, but this feels very Marvelized. You can tell that the budget is a lot higher than the previous 2 films. I think the first film only had a budget of $38 million, which $38 million is a lot of money, but compared to other superhero or superhuman films, that was very low, okay? And I don't remember what the budget was for Deadpool 2. I'm guessing it was 60 or 70. Don't quote me on that. I bet you the budget on here was about 125 to 150, somewhere in there. I'm not entirely sure, which I'm sure they're going to make a profit anyway, because this is one of the most hyped films of the year. But it just felt very Marvelized. The first 2 felt very small-scaled, even though they did have superhuman and superhero elements. They felt very small-scaled and not bare bones, but semi-bare bone, you know what I'm saying? Like, they had this dark, gritty feel to both of them. This one is very colorful, very vibrant, and you can tell that there was a lot of money splashed on the screen, which it's not entirely a negative. A lot of people are going to love it. I just had slight, issues with it, but it just felt like another Marvel. It has like that Ant-Man Quantumanium effect to it, where first two are semi like small scaled, bare boned type superhuman and superhero films. And then Quantumanium came out, and it just felt like another Avengers type film. This is what this feels like as well, which I'm not entirely a big fan of that, but I think it does do it justice. And another thing that I'm mixing here is the soundtrack in here. Sometimes the soundtrack feels like a small scaled like side character in here. Like, I wish they had more of a score instead of a soundtrack, but either way, the soundtrack, sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's used very well, sometimes it's not. That's why it's in the next section. Then, let's go on to the negatives. The story in here is pretty weak and pretty lackluster, to be honest. But Spider-Man No Way Home sort of has that effect to it too, where like the story at the beginning of that film is horrid. But the camaraderie between the Spider-Man in there and the camaraderie between Deadpool and Wolverine make this film worth it and No Way Home worth it. The story is very weak. I wish it was like a more small-scaled story where, like, I don't know, which I'm stealing this from a YouTube channel, but they were like, what if the movie was about Deadpool getting a dog and then someone steals the dog and then it just becomes like a John Wick Part 5 or Part 6 or whatever they're on. Something small scaled and basic. This just felt like it had so much going on, and there was just a lot on screen, and you sort of get overstimulated with things. But that's besides the point. This is my least favorite Deadpool film, which I hate to say that, but it is my second or third favorite film of the year so far. Which, given this is the 8th film I've seen so far, that's pretty lackluster compared to 2022. I saw 40-something films. Last year I saw 30-something. We're over halfway into 2024, and I've only seen 8 2024 films, which is... I hate that. But this is like the second or third favorite. It's either tied between this and Longlegs. Those two I saw today. Weird double feature, but a really fun time. Even though this is my least favorite Deadpool, it was a really fun time, and I am going to go see it again to take my wife, because I think she's going to get a kick out of it as well. But either way... With that being said, I'm going to be giving Deadpool and Wolverine an overall grade of an 80%. So let me know in the comments below what you think about this film. Are you more positive on it than I am? Do you have less negatives than I do? Let me know, because a lot of people are hyping this thing up, and it does sort of it sort of does pay off when you buy into the hype of this film. So even though it's an 80%, it still is a fun time. I think everyone's going to get a kick out of it. And with that being said, I just want to say thank you guys, as always, for watching my videos, and I hope to see you in the next one.